Hey there, everyone. It's Sam with a quick video for you today. First one of 2022. Happy New Year. Hope everyone's doing well and figuring out your, I guess, writing goals and reading goals for the new year and all that stuff. Last week, which was now last year, on New Year's Eve, we talked about writing goals for the new year. So I'm also talking about reading goals. I mean, I know this is a primarily a writing series, writing video, podcast, whatever you want to call it. But of course, obviously, reading is linked, and I mean, you can't have writing without reading, or vice versa. And I think everyone who is a writer probably is also a reader. May not work the other way around, but pretty sure everyone who is a writer is or at least should be a good reader. So I always ask everyone, I always ask you all, what are you reading these days? How will it influence your writing? That kind of thing. And some of us are doing reading challenges for 2022. And I'll talk about my goals in a minute. I mean, it's not anything revolutionary. It's similar to what my goals were last year. I'll talk about that in a minute. First, I wanted to say I am on Goodreads now on the same topic. Someone encouraged me to try it out. Many people have encouraged me to try it out. I think I tried it out actually years ago, like in college when I actually didn't have time to read. So I was like, oh, I love reading, but I actually wasn't making any progress, so I didn't really use it. Now that I am reading books more consistently again, I'm on Goodreads. I've tried to add retroactively all the books I've read, like in the past couple of years, like because I was posting, or I am posting still on Facebook. Not always on my author page, but on my personal page. If you're friends with me, I usually post reading summaries either end of year or I started doing end of month ones because I wanted to be able to talk about them more frequently than just once a year. But summaries of what I'm reading. It's usually two books a month, sometimes three or maybe two in a short story if I'm lucky. But anyway, um, yeah, so I'm on Goodreads now. I'm trying it out. I'm adding all the things I've read in the past couple of years, going back and looking at my list that I posted on Facebook. Anyway, you can find me there. It's Samuel Harris. I mean, if you know me and know what I look like, surprise, here's what I look like. Unless you're listening to the podcast, in which case it's all audio. Sorry, but if you're watching live now in the video, um, here's me. You can find me on Samuel Harris. Profile picture is me with my Batman shirt holding my little guy, who's now much bigger than he is in that picture, but there he is. Excuse me. And if you look at my book collection, you'll see a lot of Star Wars books because I talk about those a lot, and sci-fi mixed with some classics, and of course some nonfiction, usually Christian nonfiction or like theological in some ways is what I'm mostly doing. So anyway, if you follow me on Goodreads, you can keep up with what I'm reading there. I'll post some of my reviews there too, and all that stuff. I'm still figuring it out, but I'm not necessarily expecting to like promote my author stuff there because I mean, I guess you kind of can, but mostly it's just a fun way for readers to keep up with each other. So if you're interested in reading, want to keep up with me, want to connect with other readers, follow me there. Second thing, I'll give my short review this month of a book I read, and I know we're only a week into the month, so you're like, well, how did you read a book so fast? I mean, some of you can read a book that fast. I can't these days, not with having a kid and a full time job usually. But I think I mentioned this briefly the other week. But in December, I was able to do actually three books. So my goal is to do is always to do at least two books a month, one fiction and one nonfiction. I try to alternate so I have a good intake of both and not just doing frivolous stories, although I love those, trying to better myself too and taking some nonfiction too. Um, so I'm doing usually one fiction, one nonfiction a month. That's my goal again this year. So hoping to do at least 24 books in the month in the year of 2022, possibly more if I can squeeze in short ones in between maybe. So I read three books in December, only because this last one was short. And it's one I talked about before. This is called Ayal the Arrow Boy. It's by my friend, author Erik Steidl. I've had him on here before. He's been in a video discussion with me talking about his writing. Ayal the Arrow Boy, written by Erik Steidl, illustrated by, I think, Kelly P. Harrison, is what it says. Yeah. You can find more about his website, about him at his website, stedilstories.com. That is STEIDL stories.com. But yeah, so I've talked about this book before. I mean, or I've had him on. I had him on. He talked about his book. I've mentioned it briefly. I didn't read it till just now. It is short, so I was able to finish it. I mean, it's that long. Like it's less than 100 pages. It's more of a novella, I guess. Definitely for young adults. But I was like, hey, he's my friend. I've had him on here. I've talked about the book. I want to actually read it. So I'll give you my assessment of that here. And it was a good fun book. I mean, it only took me like 5 days to read it or something. Which I mean, I know some of you can finish it in an afternoon. I mean, if I'm slower these days because I'm reading, in between having a kid and full time job and all that stuff, and I only have a certain amount of time to read at nights. But even with how slow I am and how little free time I have, I finished this in less than a week. So yeah, it's a short, easy read. I mean, for an adult, obviously, a short, easy read. Some teens or young adults, depending on what level they're at, it might be more appropriate for them, maybe more age appropriate. And so I liked it for what it was. I mean, I'm not like a huge young adult fan these days. It's not usually what I go for. Occasionally, maybe. I mean, I know there's some famous ones that I've still read as an adult just because I wanted to see what's out there, like Hunger Games and stuff like that. But I was gonna say, if it wasn't by my friend, it probably wouldn't have been my first go-to for reading as a 31-year-old. But then again, I have a kid these days, so I am kind of on the lookout for kids' books. I mean, obviously he's not ready for a chapter book yet, but who knows? In 10 years or whatever, 5 or 10 years, even if he's advanced, it's good to have young adult books on hand and that he could be interested in. So I think I mean it's been a while since I was a teen. It's been a while since I taught teenagers, but I think this is a good young adult book for teens who you know teens or preteens, depending on what level they're at. Even some who maybe didn't like reading before, I think they could be engaged by this. So I'll tell you a little bit about it. It's a biblical story, or it's based on a biblical story. I mean, it's historical fiction, I guess technically, that takes a story from King David's life and embellishes it, or just kind of expands on the minor character. There's a story, and I'm gonna get the details wrong if I try to recite it from the actual Bible, so don't quote me on this. But there's a story like at some point King Saul has a plot to kill David. If you know anything about the story, David is the up and coming king, where he's been appointed to be the next king, and Saul isn't cool about that, so he tries to kill David. And Jonathan, Saul's son, is David's best friend, and they come up with some secret way to like let David know if he's safe or not, like from Saul, or if Saul still wants to kill him, and it has to do with whether Jonathan fires arrows like at a certain point or like past a certain point. I forget the biblical details, but anyway, there's a boy who collects the arrows, and who kind of ends up sending that message to David. So Erik, my friend, expanded on that concept. Took up that little boy who probably was just a teenager or whatever, and made a story about him. So again, a good protagonist, a good character for a young adult series, or not series, a young adult story. Um, so it's your typical young adult story. I mean the boy, he's the average like orphan boy who has a low role in the kingdom. He's a messenger. His name is Ayal. He talks about he's very fast. Ayal means deer in Hebrew. I didn't know that. I got it from the book. So he's fast like a deer. That's why he's a messenger. So he's your typical athletic teenage boy. I feel like it might appeal to some athletic teenage boys who, again, sometimes stereotyping, but from my experience in teaching, sometimes are not as interested in reading. They might be more reluctant. So I feel like a teenage boy reading this could connect with the character of Ayal. And like most protagonists, he starts out. I mean, he's low in the kingdom. He doesn't think much of himself. He's like, I'm not special. Like what am I doing here? I'm just the messenger. I'm just this little teenage boy, whatever. But he ends up uncovering the plot to kill David, and in this version. I mean, I'm not saying that's real history. I'm saying it's in this fictionalized version based in real history. He uncovers the plot to kill David, and kind of realizes he has his own importance, even beyond beyond just his role, beyond just outward appearances, things like that. He even quotes a line that from the Bible, and it was originally used in King David's story in First Samuel, but it says like, man looks at the outward appearance, the Lord looks at the heart. So this book has a good theme of like your outward appearance, your outward social status, whatever, isn't all that defines you. It's about inner character and things like that too. Might seem basic to some of us. Again, it's a young adult novel, and I think teenagers these days, sometimes adults, but definitely teenagers still, also need to hear that. And I know, I'm not trying to knock it, but I'm also saying, like, it's not what I usually read these days because I'm past the age group. But even with it being, you know, basic and below my level and things like that, um, Erik uses some good description that I and like don't usually know how to pull off off the top of my head at least. I've been told in my writing that I need more visual description sometimes. I'm kind of a literal thinker, and so like I describe things kind of plainly. I describe things as they are, but I don't use like a lot of, I don't know, metaphors or phrases or anything like that. I would just say like he had brown hair, or he was, tall, wide, strong, muscular, whatever. I might use the direct adjectives, but finding creative ways to say that is not my strength. But I'll read you just a short section from a part that caught my attention because I thought it was cool, and I think the way he describes things is cool. This is when Ayal was meeting Abner. Abner is a biblical character, and he says, let's see. He made another left turn and found himself staring up at a man so large that it seemed as if the hallway had ended abruptly in a wall that just happened to be made of flesh, clothing, and armor. Ayal's breath caught in his throat as he realized who it was. Abner. I'll skip a few lines. The warrior seemed large even then. Here, in the close quarters of the hallway, he appeared substantially more massive. Even Orr would have looked small in comparison. He kept his head shaved, but his beard long. It was a deep brown with slivers of gray running down like rivers on the side of a mountain. His skin was a matching chestnut, permanently tanned from long days in the sun. As I all watched him draw in a deep breath, it seemed that his chest did not expand to fill the hall, but that the hall itself shrank around him, deferring to his enormity. So, just things like that. That's all throughout the book. That kind of description of people, of the scenery. I just thought it was clever and creative. I know it's not like unheard of. Other authors have done good, vivid visual description, but it's helpful when it's there. It helps paint a picture for the audience, especially even an audience if it was maybe a teenage boy who doesn't like to read. Helps paint a picture of words, and I haven't noticed it because it's not really my strength, and so I'm aware that it's not my strength, and so I notice it in someone else, and so I'm like, huh, okay, it's cool. So anyway, Ayal the Arrow Boy. I recommend it if you have a teenage boy in your life. Teenage girl might like it too, but especially a teenage boy in your life who would enjoy an adventure story of an old era. Again, not long at all. It's less than 100 pages. It's it took me less than a week, and if I was reading it as a teenager, I'm sure I could have finished it even sooner back when I had free time. But yeah, Ayal the Arrow Boy, go check it out. Again, check out my friend Erik's website at stedilstories.com. That's Steidl stories.com. I think he's written some other things too, with some short stories and maybe a couple other books, but this is, I think, the main one he's kind of focusing on for now, or pushing for now. So I wanted to give it a chance and be able to give my friend an honest recommendation. So there you go. So that was actually technically when I read it in December, not my January read. I'm now reading one of the newest Star Wars books, the latest Timothy Zahn Thrawn book. I've talked about those before. I'm about 200 pages in out of 500 pages, so I'll hopefully give a review of that one at the end of the month. But yeah, so anyway, there's today's book review. Not the last book review because I'm still reading and plugging away this year. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you're meeting your writing and reading goals also, and we'll stick with those after the first week of the year. I know we all tend to fall off of our goals for a while after January or after the first of the year, but stick with it. We got a ways to go, but take it one day at a time. Keep writing, keep reading, keep doing your thing. Have a great weekend. Thanks for being here, everyone. Bye.